God's amazing story for CCF Isabela began in the year 2000 when one of its current leaders, Nita Co, was invited to a Sunday service at CCF St. Francis Square Mandaluyong. Nita was blessed by the teachings of Pastor Peter Tanchi and later surrendered her life to the Lord. Later on, Bible studies were conducted in their house in Manila and eventually in their farm in Alicia Isabela. Led by Sister Thelma Reyes and the late brother Tony Senca, small group meetings and Bible studies continued regularly every month. By the grace of God, this group started to grow. It was year 2002 when Pastor Robby and Zenny Santos, CCF's church planting ministers, took over and started intentionally discipling men and women. They also conducted different bridging events like couples retreats, men and women's encounter retreats, parenting seminars, and a lot more. Because of this thrust, the group began growing exponentially and more small groups were formed. In 2004, after much praying and planning, everyone joined hands in putting up CCF Alicia's first church building, located at San Mateo Road. A lot of people were touched and were led to contribute to this building project. Through God's provision and marvelous hand at work, CCF's first satellite church in North Luzon was planted in February 2005. CCF Alicia was inaugurated by CCF Senior Pastor Peter Tanchi and was graced by most of CCF's pastors and their wives. Year after year, different ministries and small groups were formed, and the church grew even bigger. Couples retreats, youth retreats, and vacation Bible schools were consistently conducted every year. As the church grew, the leadership decided that it was time to move to a bigger and more strategic location. An old cinema complex along the National Highway of Alicia was offered to CCF, and with much praying and planning, God made it the new home of CCF Alicia. God provided all the necessary funds for the construction and renovation of the facility through contributions from leaders and members of the church, together with fundraising activities for the building project. CCF moved to their new home last February 2011, celebrating its 6th anniversary of God's wonderful faithfulness to CCF Isabela. God's blessing and hand at work continued throughout the succeeding years. Many lives, families, and relationships were transformed by the amazing love and grace. Church members increased, discipleship groups multiplied, ministries expanded, and more workers volunteered for the expansion of God's kingdom. And after patiently and expectantly waiting for our prayer to have a pastor in CCF Isabela, God touched the heart of Manny Salvador and called him to serve as his lay pastor last 2014. God expanded CCF's borders not just in Alicia, but also to its neighboring towns and cities. In 2013, CCF Santiago was inaugurated and has been growing ever since. Towards the end of 2014, CCF Cauayan, which started as a small discipleship group back in 2009, started their preview service, leading to its official inauguration last January 18, 2015 at the Hotel Andrea. Today, we celebrate yet another milestone of our Lord's faithfulness. Pastor Peter envisioned in the year 2012 that the chassis building he once visited could become the future home of a CCF church. He again confirmed this vision when he visited Isabela 2 years later. The church began to pray for the said building, as it was also the owner's desire that it could be used for God's kingdom. Due to financial reasons, the owners needed to sell the whole property. It was then that God moved in the life of a certain businessman, whom God used mightily for the fulfillment of his vision. Every time he would be at the airport and see the building, God would prompt him to buy the property and offer it to CCF Cauayan for its permanent home. It did not take him long to decide, and he immediately responded in faith and purchased the whole property last 2015. He then talked to the leaders of CCF Cauayan and offered the building to them as CCF Cauayan's future home. Seeing God's hand moving in the midst of CCF Cauayan, the building project fundraising took off. God touched many hearts to give and pledge for the said project. Different fundraising activities were also launched by various CCF members to support this cause. And last October 2015, with God's amazing provision, the renovation for the new building started. We are in awe of God's amazing work in fulfilling His vision in our midst. We are witnesses to the wonderful plans He continues to unfold for CCF Cauayan, and we testify of His goodness and faithfulness to each one of us. Truly, God is in the business of transforming lives, families, communities, and nations for His glory. To our faithful and mighty God, we give you all the praise, honor, and glory.